You have activated the podcast from the Toejam Network.
And now, on with the show.
Welcome to Retrograde, the show where we slap at the base with retro games. This is episode 27, and today we're going to be discussing the Toejam and Earl in Panic on Funkotron. My name is Jack Marshall, I'm joined today by Anthony Hobday.
Hello.
Zan Fisher.
Hi.
And James McFadden.
Hi.
Slap at the base.
Yeah, totally.
How are we all? We need to talk about E3.
Yeah, we
I guess.
do.
That's
Jack,
a big one.
Jack, I
Very
think
quickly.
we should reference your previous stance just before we talk about this. We should reference your previous stance on the Xbox One used game situation, just so that listeners
A lot's happened in 2 weeks. Though.
listening now know what
Bear
your
in mind, when
your
I
thoughts
said
are.
in the last episode about secondhand games, that was before Microsoft announced even their like trickle of information they released like a week and a half ago, which was once they released all the fine details, even I kind of had to read it and go, oh, that's pretty bad actually.
See, because last week, 2 weeks ago, it sounded like you were fundamentally against the concept of sharing and borrowing.
I didn't mind them trying to combat it in some way. I appreciate the fact that they were kind of like trying to let developers get back some of their money, and I was kind of like, well, let's see how they go. But the way they've gone about it, I've gone, oh dear, that's a terrible way to try and do it. I don't know how they could have done it. I don't really know what the better alternative
Well,
would
they
be.
couldn't have. It's insane.
Yeah, it's a really hard. The problem is, well, the only thing I give is Microsoft are trying to now adopt a digital distribution style like Steam.
Yeah.
But the problem is they're doing that by also trying to include retail copies, which isn't going to work. Sadly.
And also, the only reason that Steam is so successful is because of all of the wild sales that Microsoft is not going to do.
It doesn't work, and now it's weird to see Sony have kind of just completely turned around and gone,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
That was hilarious. I was up until 4 a.m. last night watching that press conference.
Oh
It was
God, I
great.
had to watch highlights this morning. I couldn't stay up
It
on
was just a literal kick in the teeth to Microsoft.
I just read the Twitter feed.
One of the greatest moments at E3 I've ever seen.
Yeah, and then they
Well, and
released a
PS4
little...
release.
He comes on stage and just I've never seen at E3 apart from like the whole Sega do what Nintendo don't. I've never seen anyone go so much for another competitor
Yeah,
by
totally.
literally just bullet pointing the complete opposite of what Microsoft said.
Well,
They
that's
just-
because
they
of
were
all
just
the
hitting them-
furore.
They were just punching them while they were down.
Yeah, that's because of all the furore that's been going on over the past couple of weeks. Ever since the first thing about Xbox was heard, the internet has been up in arms about how
Yeah.
ridiculous it
But
is. Because everyone else likes sharing, you see, Jack. And then
the
PS4
closed
saw
book.
that, and you said PS4, they were thinking along the same lines as Microsoft,
Well,
but then they
I've-
saw the backlash and then just completely wiped the slate clean. We're like, no, we're not doing that. We're going to stick with what we already do because that's what the people love, and we're
thought
going to
it
be
was-
£100 cheaper. So
I thought it
that
was
everyone buy
hilarious
PS4.
because they announced that. They sort of did, we're sort of doing what you want and not what Microsoft are doing. And then at the end of the conference, they announced that it's going to be 70, maybe 80 quid cheaper in
Yeah.
Britain, which is insane. Like
Yeah.
£429 for the Xbox One or the Xbone. I
prefer
It's
Xbone.
ridiculous. It's too much. That's more than the PS3 was when it launched here, and that was way too much. Nobody bought that. So I have no idea what they're thinking. They also don't have the exclusive library to back up.
Who, Xbox?
Yeah.
Speaking to friends who are developers, interesting well, because the expectation was that Sony were probably going to do similar to Microsoft, but a bit more tailored, a bit change a few things, and they've done none of it. They've just completely backed and gone, okay, we're not going to do anything about online, always being online, or having to log into live, or playing games single player online and stuff. They've just completely backtracked on everything and gone, no, we're going to completely do none of it, which is surprising in itself. But it's quite funny as well because people have been saying how like it's interesting how people are going nuts now about the PS4 for revealing stuff that is literally something that everyone just expected from the start.
Yeah, that's kind of
But
a
they've not actually
sad
revealed anything. They've just
commentary
gone,
on the-
we're going to allow you to use games. If they said that on
Yeah.
360, people would have gone, oh yeah, you better do. Why is that a big deal?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, it's important to note that Microsoft aren't going to have any use game restrictions on their own games, and they've given it up to publishers to decide whether they want to use them on their own games.
Oh, really?
The publisher games.
So
rather.
first-party games will be sort of...
Yeah, they've backtracked a little bit on that. I don't know if that was always the
Oh.
plan or if they did it
I didn't know that.
in response to feedback.
That's weird.
But they've said it's up to publishers to decide whether or not those games
Yes.
can be traded in. And
But then that
Yeah.
creates a really confusing precedent for sort of games like GameStop or whatever, or Game or GameStation, because how are they going to manage the second-hand sort of trading system for that?
Barcodes.
they'll probably only
Just
carry
barcoded.
games from the publishers that allow second-hand gaming
They're going
without
to
full
have to
resale.
put it like on the box. Like somewhere on the back. Where it
Cannot
says,
be
like,
traded. They'll have to
two
before you
players,
buy it, yeah.
online play,
That's
co-op,
absurd.
and can be traded in as a feature. Boom. Did anyone actually any games? Did anyone? I mean, we just had the Nintendo press conference. You know much about what was shown?
Well, I'm glad that Nintendo have finally announced some IP. I mean, Wii U has been out.
for 2014. No.
Well, that I know, but at least they've announced something.
Yeah, that's true.
Because when Wii U came out, they had 3-4 games. which weren't their top IP. And so, to be honest, I was expecting them to release, you know, the new Mario, the new Zelda, everything this year. Was when I was expecting it.
Well, I mean, the Wii sort of cycle with the games was that it came out and there was nothing for like 2-3 years, and then the good games came out, and then there was nothing.
I don't know, Wii Sports was what really launched
Wii Sports was terrible, though. It was
great game, though. It's a great game.
No, but considering it was the first console where you weren't pressing buttons, it was motion to play it. That was the novelty draw initially.
It was the system seller.
You played Nintendo Land. You loved it, right? Didn't you? You thought it was really good.
I thought it was
not
okay
enough to buy
for about
it, but
20 minutes, but I wouldn't ever be compelled to go back to it.
Well, this is it. I'm waiting until there's some decent IP available for the Wii U. Then I'm going to trade in and get it.
What made
and
me
that
laugh?
and the price is slashed already.
I thought the conference for Nintendo, I was watching it all, and I was it wasn't that impressive.
It was awful. Their
Bayonetta,
conference had
Bayonetta 2.
the Zelda Wind Waker remake looks really good.
Yeah, but again, that's a HDMI. But then I was expecting the internet to just be up in arms, and then they showed Smash Brothers, and I don't know what it is with people in Smash Brothers, but they just go mental.
Yeah,
like everyone was going, "What a
system
successful
seller.
Nintendo E3 conference!" I was like, really? It's just Smash Brothers. I admit it's a good game, but calm down.
I didn't
Hardcore
watch.
fans love Smash Brothers.
I didn't watch any of the conferences, and I'm glad now because James earlier described the Microsoft conference as a literal kick in the teeth. So if that's the price you have to pay to watch it, then I'd rather keep my teeth.
See, I expected you to pick up on that when I said it, but
I picked up on it when you said it.
It took so long for you to actually comment.
I was letting it gestate.
It was a figurative kick in the teeth, ladies and gentlemen.
A
not
figurative, literal kick in the teeth.
Yeah, I mean, literal has now evolved beyond the sort of
Beyond the
definition
literal
of actually
sense.
having happened.
Yes, for
And
idiots
it's
it
now
has.
just an emphatic sort of.
Well, that's
I think they
pointless.
have rephrased literally the word in the dictionary because so many people were using it so wrong.
Yeah,
They haven't-
the
they haven't
dictionary's on
changed.
my
It
side.
has. I think they have. I think
They haven't
it, but you
changed.
can say-
Yeah, they've also changed
they
the
can say that
definition
she
of.
literally jumped out of her skin, and it is technically definition.
They've also changed the definition of figurative to now mean literal. So a figurative kick in the teeth now means a literal kick in the teeth, and a literal kick in the teeth now means a figurative kick in the teeth.
Gullible in the dictionary is now just a giant duck as well. That's what that
At one point,
Look at that Gullible over there.
At one point, the page on Wikipedia for Gullible didn't exist, just so you could say, you know, there's no Wikipedia for Gullible, and then they'd go there and there wasn't one, but then they put it back. So
That's crazy.
Oh, that's really
Ruined that.
annoying. That would have been hilarious.
Anyone else had any other games that E3?
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5 looks amazing.
On a horse. He's got a horse.
He does have a horse. I'm really
Horse.
sad that they got rid of David Hayter for the voice actor because that he made it for me. He was sort of 90% of
Isn't
the
it like
atmosphere.
someone quite famous?
It's
doing
Kiefer
it?
Sutherland.
That's it. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Hearing
my
Jack
daughter.
Bauer's voice come from Solid Snake does not sit well with me. It's ridiculous. But the whole game looks ridiculous and it does look quite good.
I hope he says once in the game, like, "This is going to be the longest day of my life. These are 24 hours." Just if he says 24 once in the game, it's going to be brilliant.
is it
won't
open
purchase.
world or is that something different?
Yeah, no, it's open world.
And he's got a horse,
He does well at one point in the game. He
so
has
it's
a horse.
Red Dead Revolver Metal Gear Solid Edition.
Essentially, yeah. But I mean, are you against that fundamentally? I think that's quite a good idea. I think we could have more.
I'm not.
Red Dead.
I haven't played RDR, and I don't really play
You
much.
haven't played Red Dead Redemption?
Probably my favourite game in the last generation, Red Dead Redemption.
I hear good
It's
things about it,
phenomenal.
but I know I wouldn't finish it. So I
It's
don't want
way
to start
better
it.
than GTA 4.
I know I wouldn't finish it.
Yeah,
So
I
what's the
wouldn't.
point? What's the point? What about
Rockstar's open world
I
games
saw it
usually just
cake
lose
the other
me.
day, but I'm not going to eat it because I'm not going to finish it. What's the point?
Rockstar's open world games usually lose me quite early.
It's quite gripping. I reckon you should give it a go.
I was really impressed, despite a lot of negative stuff being written about it. I thought Dead Rising 3 looked incredible.
Really? I thought that... Okay, I'm not gonna... I really want to swear in. I thought it looked terrible. The graphics. I've seen better things done on the PS3 2-3 years ago. Yeah. I mean, there are
really?
so
Okay.
many objects on screen, but the fidelity is so low.
I just thought it looked fantastic.
Also, the other Dead Risings
Thousands.
were terrible, so you're wrong, Jack. Continue,
Oh,
please.
dear. Oh, you crazy boy. Oh.
Capcom don't make good games.
Any other bands to anyone? Anything else? Not non-E3 related? Anything interesting going on?
I watched a trailer for the new Pokemon 3DS games that are coming out in a few months, and I is well excited. They look like
You turned around to me the other day and you said you're going to pick a game for one of our shows because you've never played it before.
I wasn't going to reveal that on the podcast because
sorry.
otherwise it won't be a surprise when it turns up.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to swap it. I'm going to swap it in for another
I'll cut
game.
that bit out. Tell me more about those trailers.
Well, I love the fact that they've changed the art style and they've gone more of a Professor Layton style direction. And obviously Professor Layton had its first 3D adventure last year, which I got, and that was amazing. So if it's similar to the Professor Layton 3D, then I have very high hopes for Pokemon 3DS.
Can't believe you haven't got Animal Crossing yet.
Why would I get
Did you
Animal
not?
Crossing?
On the
Alright,
3DS,
the Sandals.
'cause
Why
it's-
would I get
'cause
it?
it's so good. It's really
Animal
good.
Crossing is
it's-
the big one.
What?
Like, do you not
Oh,
like...
Animal Crossing.
I haven't
love
played Animal Crossing.
Oh, you should.
It just seems to me like
You'd
a
love
proper
it.
child's game.
You'd love
No,
it.
what?
Well, what
Wait,
comes
sorry,
to you saying,
Animal Crossing's a
hello,
child's
have an
game.
animal. Pokemon requires a lot of strategy and dedication, James.
Animal Crossing.
You've got to farm up the same bush 99 times.
No, Animal Crossing
Got to
is.
do what to a bush?
Animal Crossing is here's a village, you live in it now, live your life, which is
That's
a bit less
boring.
direction than Pokemon.
Live your life is a pretty sort of
That sounds
grandiose
like... Wait, so it's
I
like a
would
mix of
be-
The Sims and Pokemon?
Kind
I
of.
hope you're
Because I
not like
hate
a
The
marketing
Sims.
manager. Halo would just be, here's a gun, you're on a planet, here's aliens, shoot them.
That sounds amazing. I'm saying that Animal Crossing is basically real life, but with animals. So
Because we don't have animals in real life.
it's the video. It's the video equivalent of Hey Arthur.
That's a fantastic.
Hey Arthur is a brilliant programme. What
Wait,
are you on
so is
about?
Hey Arthur the one with he's the
Football
football
head.
head? Oh, okay, no, Doug.
That's Hey Arnold. No,
That's Hey Arnold.
Arthur was the one where you had DW
Oh,
as his
yeah,
little
yeah.
sister.
Hey Arthur was
Arnold
awesome.
football head.
Was Hey
Yeah.
Arthur where they were all dogs?
Doug was-
He was like, he wasn't a dog, was he?
Hey Arthur was all dogs, right?
No, he was like
There was no Hey
Arthur.
Arthur.
That was two
No,
stupid
Arthur.
dogs.
Yeah, they were animals.
Arthur, they were like. Arthur,
were animals,
I don't know
yeah.
what Arthur was actually. I think it was like a mole or something.
Yeah. So
He
they
was
were
a
all, it was
bear.
just real life, but they were all
It wasn't a bear.
Arthur. That's it. They were all. It was a real life. They were all just animals.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing is basically the same. It's real life, but they're all
Right.
animals.
Oh.
That is
Review,
pretty much
6
as
out of
strong
10.
an endorsement as you're going to
Yeah.
get from
Oh,
Animal.
look,
Yeah, really
It's a very
don't, I really
addictive
don't
game.
fancy it.
It's just a very addictive game. It's very nice to kind of like you go grab a fruit and you. Did you ever play a game called?
That sounds rubbish. See, what I like about
Go grab a
Pokemon...
fruit.
Harvest Moon.
No.
Oh, okay.
See, what I like
Listen,
about Pokemon
have you ever
is the
visited a
battles and the
farm?
training.
Have you ever seen a cow?
My parents live in the middle of the countryside
So
and
that's-
own
yeah.
lots
Not
of
for this
livestock. Yes.
Well, you do them a
So that's
disservice
just-
by not
so
playing
Animal,
Crossing.
I'm not going to play Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing has one of my favourite ever features where the guy will tell you don't turn off your game while it's being saved, and if you actually turn it off when it's being saved and turn it back on again, he'll have a go at you and say, "I told you not to do that." I think that's brilliant. I've never seen that before.
Simple things.
Any other things before we move on to the game?
Unrelated, non-gaming banter.
Oh.
Obviously, as you know, I gave blood a couple of weeks ago through much mental torture to myself, and found out my blood type. And turns out I am only 8 in every 100 people, so that's 8%. Only 8% of people in the whole of the UK have my blood type. So I kind of have to keep going
must have
because
given a
it's
lot of
really
blood.
rare.
What type is it?
B plus, B positive.
They're going to be bugging you every week now.
Pretty much. No, I can only give
Come
every
in.
4 months because I'm a girl.
Can a
Boy-
guy give
boy-
more? Can a guy give more often?
Yeah, boys give every 3 months. Girls can only give every 4 months.
Why?
We're the weaker sex.
What boys do you know?
Should he?
Neil,
Should
you.
he, like?
I never give
shouldn't
anything
Our
to anyone.
bodies make the same amount of blood.
it's the same kind of thing. Like why you need more calories per day than a woman, things like that.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's that kind of thing.
Oh, so I can't give blood. I reckon I can give a pint a day. I'd be all right.
I think we should try that, Jack.
Yeah, good.
Anyway, so yeah, it means I have to keep going because my blood's quite rare. So
That's how they get you. Your blood is actually just the same as
really
everyone else's.
common.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
You're in the
Quite
top
possibly.
1%.
But yeah.
Okay.
I just thought I'd share that because I felt nice being so special.
I don't know my blood type, and you're apparently meant to know it because if you're in an accident and paramedics stop you, and you're like on the floor, like half dead, but you can still talk. They're like, "What blood type are you?" You're meant to go, "Oh, my blood."
Yeah, but if they don't know, they'll just give you O negative, and then that works with everyone. So that's
Yeah, but
you'll
it'd
be
be better if I
fine.
can go, "I'm B plus," and they go,
Well,
"Get
yeah.
B plus." Oh, phone is on.
Exactly.
You swore.
I did swore. I know.
He did swore.
I did that swore do.
He done made a swear.
Good. There'll be a beep. Don't worry. Cool. Okay. So we're going to be talking today about the game I keep pronouncing wrong all week. Toejam and Earl in Planet on Funkotron. Don't know why it's so hard for me.
Panic.
Panic on Funkotron. So before we do that, let's have a brief blurb on the game from the founder of Psychon.net, Brecky Double K Thomason.
Toejam and Earl in Panic on Funkotron is a platform video game developed by Johnson Vorthanger Productions and published by Sega in 1993 for the Mega Drive and Genesis console. The game is the sequel to cult video game Toejam and Earl released in 1991. The game concerns two alien protagonists, Toejam and Earl, both of whom escaped from Earth where they crash-landed. After returning to their home planet of Funkotron, the duo discover a number of antagonistic Earthlings have stowed away on the spacecraft and are wreaking havoc across the planet. Since its release, Toejam and Earl in Panic on Funkotron has been criticized for being too sharp a departure from the first game. Some later reviewers felt that the developers were more interested in the publisher's wishes rather than the fans. However, together with its predecessor, the game comprises one of the Mega Drive's key exclusive franchises, which eventually spawned a third installment in 2002, albeit a commercial failure with mixed reviews.
Thanks for that, Brecky. And before we also roll into the game, the thing that everyone's listening for, competition time.
I like that. That's the Mario Start music, isn't it?
Yeah.
Clark.
Is it?
We
Yeah.
ran a competition in the last show, and now we need to pick a winner.
Yeah, the competition was to give away... Anyone remember?
Retrograde.
Yeah, same name as our show.
The show. You can buy the show.
No, you can't. We own the rights to that. But Retrograde, giving it away, you had to enter by tweeting us on Twitter with our @tag.
At Retrograde Show.
Yeah. We got entries, which is which is encouraging. We know that there's demand. And the winner... You don't want to do the thing again? There you go. The winner is Paul Monahan, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So we're going to private message you on Twitter, Paul Monahan.
Yes, I'll send over. You've got the game code. So
Yeah, we're going to send you the code.
Over. Congratulations.
So you can
Paul
redeem
Monahan.
Well done, Paul Monahan.
So well done. That's good.
we want to talk about the next competition?
Yeah.
Because we're running another competition for the next episode in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Again, the method to enter is to tweet us using @Retrograde Show on Twitter. So essentially, even if you message us on Twitter unrelated to the competition, you will be entered.
Yeah, and they have to do it. Like if you've never done it previously, they have to do it again. It's like a new.
Oh yeah, you can't. Yeah, you have to. tweet
Within
us every
this time frame
yeah,
now.
within the next 2 weeks. Okay, but this time we decided to up the ante a little bit, up the stakes, up the game a little bit, throw some more gold in the pot.
Teasing them a bit, teasing them.
There is no real gold given away in this competition, disclaimer. This time we're giving away an adventure game super bundle consisting of Resonance, which is a modern but old school style
Great game.
point and click adventure. Evoland, which is a game where it's kind of like an RPG where you're going through collecting treasure from treasure chests, but what you're actually collecting from the treasure chests is game features. So at the start, it starts like a Game Boy game.
I've actually not heard that. That sounds awesome.
You get an next
cool.
treasure chest that gives you sound effects, and and you eventually end up like going through the history of adventure games and RPGs, and you get like 3D graphics and things.
That's awesome.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
So it's Resonance, Evoland, and the recently released, but no longer available as far as I know, Telltale bundle, which includes, this is a long list, and I've heard of all of these but one, which is encouraging. Back to the Future, that's from Telltale, it's what the
Can I
adventure
say
game
these
they
are all
made.
Steam codes, right? These are all Steam, aren't they?
No, it's also available DR and free. I think Evoland...
Yeah, I'm not... Yeah, I think they all are, but we'll find out. Doesn't matter.
Games, what are the games?
Sorry, go on.
Back to the Future, Sam and Max Devil's Playhouse, Poker Night at the Inventory, Wallace and Gromit's Grand Adventures, Puzzle Agent and its sequel, and this is the one I haven't heard of, Hector Badge of Carnage. But of course we included the bonus game, Walking Dead, which you guys recently played.
Yeah, Walking Dead is fantastic. You should
And you both really enjoyed.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
should really
James gifted
enter
it to me. I haven't played it yet.
You haven't played it yet?
No.
You will be doing yourself a favour if you play it.
Oh no, I will. I am
now-
planning
you can now
to.
get-
I've
it's
just been
so
really
good.
busy.
You can now
It's
get
like
a
the best thing
It's so
ever.
good that
Okay.
you can now get a retail copy of the game. That if I see that for like £20, I'm probably going to buy it, even though I've already got it on Xbox Live Arcade.
It was also on
Just 'cause I
sale
want
on
a
Steam
solid
for like
copy of it.
£2.
I know, but I want a solid copy to always have and go
to
okay.
file away in your mahogany chest
So-
in your parents' house.
But,
Exactly.
So those aren't separate prizes. You get all three of those if you win. So hopefully we'll
All
get.
10 of those, I see.
Well, yeah, there's the bundle. I'm counting as one, I guess. But so to remind you to enter, you have to tweet @Retrograde Show on Twitter
Within the next 2 weeks.
before the next episode's released, and we will put you in the pool to win.
Yeah, just like Paul
And
Monahan.
just
won
like
this
Paul
week.
Monahan, you
Cool.
might be.
You could be the next Paul Monahan. You could. Play your cards right.
You should be so lucky. Okay,
Cool, okay, so Toejam and Earl, Planet on Funkotron.
Panic on Funkotron.
Doesn't matter. Answer, you chose it. Why? What do you think of it? How's it aged? Tell us about your history.
Enthusiasm.
And go.
this was a big game. Like some of you had chosen games because they were big in your childhood, and I added this quite late to the list of games we're doing because I realised that I played a lot of this when I was young, and then somehow forgot about it, even though I loved it. My brother and I used to play it. It was on the Mega Drive, which he had, so I had to rely on his game choices to provide my entertainment.
Right.
So it's a big game of my childhood. The things I really like about it are the music, super funky soundtrack, the art style. Well, the art style for me
You'll
was
get your chances, and calm down.
Okay.
the art style for me was very bold, lots of purples and things, like quite funky colours, interesting to look at. I like the adventure aspect because there's things like non-player characters, NPCs in the game that you can talk to, and that's not so normal for side-scrolling platforms. Usually, it's just get to the end. But this has got goals other than that. You have to search for things like the Earthlings to capture them in jars, talk to people, find the secret areas. So it's more of like an explorathon.
Explorathon.
You made that up.
Explorathon.
It's not a real word.
It's more like an Explorathon, that famous.
Everyone knows what it
genre.
means, though.
That was almost the Jackism, isn't it?
It's just anything a thon. Like
Yeah.
a cookathon, you know.
Gameathon. This is a gameathon.
It's a gameathon.
Give
It's
it a
also got-
slap-a-thon.
It's also got a really enjoyable co-op mode, which we discovered earlier today when we were playing. Well, no, James and I discovered it earlier today when we were playing it. No, it was Jack and I, right?
Yeah, it was Jack.
James was admonishing us for making the characters do lewd things.
Yeah. Well, that's the natural reaction to always try to make your characters do rude things.
Yeah, it's got a lot of character, very fun animations, all that stuff. The bad things I didn't like so much. The camera in co-op can sometimes be a little confusing because it chooses to
yeah.
follow one player, then snaps back to the other.
It's sometimes quite arbitrary as well.
So that's could
I
have
think that's
used.
why they included teleporting, though. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can quickly manipulate
But
that
it's weird
happening.
because sometimes you have two people on screen, and if you go in opposite directions, then you just hit the wall and you can't move further.
Yeah.
But sometimes it will just
I think
cut
that's only
someone out.
horizontal.
Oh, right,
I think
so
vertical, yeah, because
Oh,
there's a lot more
right,
vertical
okay.
space and there's. I don't. It's strange. Despite being so funky fresh, it can be quite a difficult game sometimes. Like when a lot of Earthlings are on you at once. I love calling them Earthlings, even though we're the Earthlings. They're jarring us. So it can be difficult sometimes. The trampoline sponges specifically are a little frustrating.
Yeah, it's
Oh
just
my god, they're
ridiculous.
awful.
Just because the mechanics aren't really, especially when the two characters in co-op line up together, and
Yeah,
you're not
that's
sure why they
strange.
switch around or who's got control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like some other games we've done before that were classic and had co-op modes, I'm not sure if I'd stay interested if it weren't for co-op. Because I think I remember playing this most of all in co-op with my brother.
Yeah.
And that gives you a lot more room for fun, things you can do, like mess around with each other. You can shake a tree and a garbage can hits your friend on the head, and that's quite funny.
LOL.
Indeed.
Alright.
But overall, it's like very fond for me. I'm not sure if I can cut through the nostalgia very easily, but I really like the game. Funky fresh, as I've said. I like the direction they took it in because there's not many games that are like this goofy. Except for maybe
Goof Troop.
Goof Troop. That was very goofy, but literally goofy. I
That's
mean,
funky.
figuratively goofy.
What? I mean, how was it? Not aged, but was there anything that you going back now? I mean, you haven't played this for quite a while, I take it.
No,
Anything going back playing it now that you kind of look back and went, God, blimey, I used to think that was awesome, but looking back on it, you think, well, that was a bit rubbish actually.
well, looking back on it, I remember playing it with James recently in co-op, and I kept on saying I forgot this had happened. Like there's the Earthlings that aren't Earthlings, like the Oogie Boogies that reach out and like tickle you, and they go Oogie Boogie Boogie.
Anthony took great joy in the Oogie.
I loved it so much, and I'd forgotten all about those things, and then one appeared, and it was like, Oogie Boogie Boogie Boogie. And then I was just doing it for ages after that, because it brought back all these memories from my childhood. But, I mean, the controls were a bit floaty. Yeah. Some of the jumps are kind of frustrating, especially with
Huge
the camera.
jumps. I know it's
Yeah,
like
especially with the
an alien
camera. If you
robot.
miss the jump, then one of you flies off the screen.
Yeah.
And the other person's jumped at the same time you have, and they fly off the screen as well, and they can't really correct it, because the camera's flying around and you don't know what's going on. That sort of thing. But, most of all, I think it's held up well.
So summary, pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. That's why I chose it, I suppose.
I like the fact that you keep calling it Funky Fresh. Because as soon as the music started, when Neil and I played the other day, instantly Neil launched into Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Because it did sound like that. And then the graphics in the bonus level, like the background of it, really reminded me of Saved by the Bell. Which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
The
whole
squiggly line graphics.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll come
squiggly
back
line
to it.
graphics,
I'll come back
very
to it
Saved
later,
by the
but
Bell.
I couldn't really think of a word to describe the whole sort of art style.
90s.
It reminds me.
80s.
No, but it's kind of like
Late 80s,
Late
early
80s.
90s.
It's
Because
like early
Saved by the Bell was the
90s.
same.
Yeah, it's like early 90s trying to shake off 80s, but still around. And it reminds me a lot of things like early Nickelodeon. I remember the first thing that
Yeah.
jumped to my mind was like. Do you remember on Rugrats?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
intro where it used to show
Yeah,
the name
yeah,
of the
yeah.
episode
Yeah.
would go, "Brah," and it was all this sort of like almost like static animation. And I don't know what that's. And also the very bright neon colours. I don't know
Yes.
what that style's called.
Garish.
I think it is just, yeah.
Well, now it's called garish.
It reminds me
Back
of
then
like
it was obviously-
Clarissa Explains It All and all those old sort of TV
yeah,
shows.
that had the same art style.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was just because it was a load of adults trying to make kids TV for the first time.
Kids like colours and
so-
shapes.
Colours, shapes, make them wiggle. The kids will be
It is
entertained.
really weird how that.
Ooh, wiggly
that's really
shapes.
gone out now, but
Do you think that tied in with the advent of easily done on-screen graphics for TV shows?
it wouldn't surprise me.
Must be.
Because those early 90s, late 80s TV shows, there was a lot of things like drawing on screens with
Like
arrows and stuff.
catchphrase,
Yeah.
but it was like very limited animation for it.
Not catchphrase, but like in Clarissa, I think they would sometimes like circle things on
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah, they
arrows and
did.
stuff.
But surely
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was available like previously.
Maybe
That
this
doesn't
is that's when it
require-
became like really easy for them to do on a cheap
Maybe,
basis.
maybe.
Yeah.
Because they would have had computers to do it rather than having to like edit the film. Whatever.
True, yeah.
James, we'll do you next. What do you think of the game?
Oh, before he does that, I just thought of something I wanted to say about the music because I've just written music here, but it reminded me. funny. The start of the theme tune for this, which now I can't remember because I'm thinking of the
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the sound effect I make to imitate porn soundtracks,
And he does this often.
yeah, and I do it quite often, is from this game, and I hadn't realised until just before I played this, like the day before.
Right, well, you're going to have to do it now, Anthony.
But now
If I start undressing, will it jog your memory?
No.
Okay.
Keep going anyway.
No. Now all I can think of is the Fresh Prince soundtrack, because that's more modern, I suppose.
Be a bit weird if you listen to like a porno with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air go on.
Or like the Fresh Prince of Bel-End.
Anyway, but no.
James, James, you never played this before?
James, that was sublime.
I'm laughing too much.
You're going to have to bleep that, by the way, what you said was a swear word.
That's alright, that's a good word. It's
a good
It's a swear word.
It's scientifically correct.
No, it's not. I don't let the kids say that at school.
He's talking about the top of a ringing bell, that's all. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I played it with Anthony, and just briefly here. I think that
you never played it before, right?
No, I hadn't. I didn't play this when I was young. For me, this game, it straddles sort of fun and unfun directly in the middle. So
it's really on the fence.
Yeah, it's
Good.
on the fence, and it makes me feel weird in my head because I'm playing it, and it's not fun, but it's not fun, and so I'm not bored, but I'm not like stimulated mentally. So
Thanks for clarifying.
It's difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I wish it was worse in some ways because it completely fails to inspire interest in me. I mean, you've got there are quite a lot of things happening. Like you've got a lot of things to interact with, and it's quite fully featured. But none of the it seems quite like they've just put things in to sort of pad out the game. They're not actually that engaging when you get down to it. And the whole floaty controls, it actually plays quite a lot like Little Big Planet, which was criticised for its platforming controls. And the art style, I think it's quite tongue-in-cheek because this was not released early enough for that to be contemporary. It kind of just...
When was it released?
Like early 90s?
93.
93,
Okay.
yeah, so it's not like... That was obviously...
Yes, it was a choice.
Do you think... Because we were playing co-op, do you think your opinion, if we hadn't been playing co-op, would have been on the side of unfun more?
No, I don't.
You don't think co-op made it better?
I think there are some games that co-op actually doesn't really do much for, and I think this might be one of them because there are no true co-op.
But it provides that that human interaction in the real life.
I'm not associating that with the game. I'm sort of right now. I'm just thinking about the game as.
But with some games, that's a lot of what it offers.
Yeah, but this isn't one of them because the actual co-op mechanically it isn't co-op. Because mechanically it's a single player game in which you can both just run
You're both just doing things in tandem but not really affecting each other.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like Portal 2 is the complete opposite because that co-op relied on two people doing different things.
So this is just a single player game but with two people.
Yeah, with two of you on screen. You can
I didn't think they added that.
I guess at least Mickey Mouse had levels designed specifically for co-op. Like
exactly, yeah.
Slot those sections in even if they were uninspired.
World of Illusion that we did a couple of episodes ago.
Yeah.
Go download it, yeah.
The episode, not the game, that's illegal.
Yeah, all of our episodes are available at retrogradeshow.com if you want to check out our back catalogue.
What did you think of the music, James?
The music was... I actually quite liked the music. I mean, it's annoying, it's really irritating, but it was quite well done.
Would you describe it as, I've got here, funky fresh?
It was certainly funky, but it felt a little stale to me at points, I must be honest.
Well, it was released in 93, right? 93?
The opposite of fresh.
Funky stale doesn't have a good ring to it.
Well, it was released in 93.
There was a distinct funk. But
they've increased the fidelity at which they can provide funk since then.
Oh yes,
in the last 20 years.
The world has got funkier since then, definitely.
But less fresh.
This game is 20 years old. 93, that's so weird.
It is bizarre.
It's as old as me, again. That's weird. A lot of stuff was happening the year I was born, man. But yeah, basically, it's alright. I mean... it's not...
Basically, it's alright.
It's okay. I mean, it's not good, but it's not bad.
Do you think you'll play it again?
Never. It's difficult. It's a very frustrating choice because not only have we done so many platformers recently, but this one it's not even, if it was really mediocre, I would count that as a bad, and that would be easy to criticize it for. But it's like beige. It's like beige incarnate in video game form.
Which is ironic considering the colour palette.
Considering there's no beige in the game.
I would say that even though it's trying to be such a funky game because that's the whole like shtick, it does it somehow quite blandly.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my fondness for it is just from nostalgia. Maybe. Whereas the music is quite subtle, I suppose, and
it's 90s obvious.
No, I mean, like, the colour work and everything is not super vibrant.
It is the loudest, vibrant game
No, I mean,
you have ever made me play.
I mean, in the context of the music and the graphics, they're quite muted for what they are, is what I'm saying.
What? They're ridiculously ostentatious.
It looks like someone's just got a box of crayons, smashed them all together and thrown them at the screen.
And then
they're just moving.
And then they've got a keyboard with lots of different sound effects on it, and hit lots of keys
for about 2 minutes.
and then changed it to
It's like a unicorn threw up on my TV screen, Anthony. I don't know what you
Maybe
mean.
I'm just...
Go on, finish your point, sorry.
What's that word? Inured? What's that word that means you've been, like, deadened to it?
Desensitized.
Maybe I'm just desensitized to it, and so I think it's...
Desensitized to funk and colour.
Yeah, maybe because I've played it before.
He does
maybe...
like Happy being blasted all over his face. Maybe
Do you go to reggae festivals and go, oh, it's a bit bland around here? Oh.
It might just be the speed at which things are happening, because I consider something like Gunstar Heroes a more colourful game than this, but that might even be more muted colour palette.
So wait, do you mean literal colours?
Maybe
figurative.
When I think of this game, it just seems quite bland.
I was going to say when I was going to review the game, was the fact that I was quite surprised. The fact, despite the game being very funky and fresh and dancing and all this stuff, it's surprising how slow the gameplay is, and it's making you stop and scan areas and look for things, which goes against kind of the whole idea of what the game's meant to be, like
in your face,
and fun and exciting. And then better check that tree. It's a bit like
that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's what.
It broke down the pace quite a lot of the game, and it just made things. But then again, I guess the thing, it's so colourful and bright. If you were running across it at the speed of Sonic, you'd be like, "Oh my god, this is like taking an acid trip on a train."
That's a good example. I think Sonic is way more colourful than this game. Not only because I think the colours are actually brighter, even though they're not
it's
as
also a palette, isn't
neon.
It?
Yeah, I think because it's faster.
It's just better designed.
Yeah,
it just looks better.
We're doing Sonic soon though, so we.
Dan, what do you think of Toejam? I mean, up until last week, you thought Toejam was a crunchy thing between your toes again.
It's not crunchy.
Jam isn't crunchy, dude.
Toe fluff.
From your socks.
What jam are you eating?
I'm not eating any jam in my toes.
It's the fluff between your toes from your socks. We call it toe jam in my house. I don't know why.
But I thought that he was called Toejam because he has loads of toes, because he has loads of feet, and he's jamming out because he's all funky.
Yeah.
I think that might be it.
So,
and then
Earl
is Patrick from SpongeBob's dad.
I did laugh how Toejam is got like Toejam's the one with like 3 legs, 1 eye.
He's the red
hands,
one, yeah.
and he's like quite a cool design character. Oh, it looks like he's got bored. Went just to a fat guy in shades.
It's Patrick's dad from SpongeBob.
It basically was, and it was like they were like, and then we'll call him Toejam. What about the other guy? Oh, I've run out of ideas. Oh.
Well, I think it's going to be like.
I think they were going for a comedy contrast.
Yeah, it's like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
Where they've got like a suave guy and a more goofy guy.
Yeah.
Zan, what do you think of the game? Never played before again?
Of course not.
Okay.
I don't know.
Too busy playing good games.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. No, I'm the same as James, but I think I'm leaning a bit more like if you got the lame and awesome scale from Pedo's Groovebox, then I think I'm.
Did you say pedo or peebo?
Nobody is going to understand that.
If they played the game, they'll know.
I think it's peebo, not pedo.
I know, but the first time Neil and I read it, we were just scanning through the text. We weren't reading the text properly, and it just flashed up. And I said, "Hang on, that said pedo." And then we kept trying it for ages to get him to talk again and say his name, but he didn't.
And that is the story of Pedo's Groovebox.
So we thought he was called Pedo. Anyway, so yeah, like the scale from Pedo's Groovebox, like James is right in the middle between lame and awesome. I think I'm leaning slightly more towards the lame because...
I was wondering why you were walking like that.
Thanks.
That was really defensive.
I know.
Go on.
I'm tired. Yeah, just because... I mean, yeah, it was a platformer, and it didn't have guns, which I appreciate.
Got jars.
Yeah, I mean,
the
whole concept of it was just really weird. And Neil and I didn't realise we were meant to be capturing Earthlings. Like, we just ran through it, shot stuff, and found a bonus level, cool, and then... did Pedo's Groovebox and then tried to exit the level, and we were told we couldn't because we hadn't collected any humans, and we were like, oh crap, we were meant to collect humans, and then we had to go all the way back through the level and find all the humans and do swimming and stuff, and yeah, it was really annoying.
That is one thing.
There was just too much going on. It was overly complicated for what could have been a simple yet effective platformer.
That is something I put on my good list, was it's got a goal other than get to the end, but I do like in things like Super Mario World, even if you don't understand exactly how it works, you can sort of blunder through and still get to the end and get to the next level. Whereas in this, you have to understand that the arrow is pointing towards the next human, and that when it flashes, there's a human around. You just search for it and everything.
Yeah, it took us a while to learn that, and
so it can be a bit like backtracking and things, and that's not great in a platformer.
Yeah,
I think there were just too many elements. Like it's like Donkey Kong Country. You've got a lot of things in there, but you've got to collect your KONG, you've got to collect the tokens, the gold tokens to get the bonus levels. That's only 2 things. You've got to kill the enemies and get to the end.
Plus, they're all optional, those first 2 things.
Yeah,
they're optional, but they're there and they're not overcomplicated. Whereas the Toejam and Earl, it's not only get to the end, but it's also you've got to get all these humans, you've got to collect a certain amount of funks, you've got to collect all these coins, you've got to do a lot of things in order to be able to progress in the game. And I just think they've put, like Jack said, it slows down the gameplay. They've just tried to jam far too much in there.
And they funked it up.
Yeah, they've completely funked it.
Before Jack goes into what he thinks of the game, can I talk about the not the prequel?
By all means, go ahead. Yeah. And interrupt Lazan's middle of Lazan's point.
No, because it fits this part of the conversation well, actually, Jack. Actually, underlining something on my paper, just like...
Go on.
The first game, just called Toejam and Earl, I think.
Yeah.
We might have to check that.
That's right. No, that's right.
Put a clarification in the show notes if I'm wrong. The first game, which was well loved, was a top-down... It's similar to roguelikes if anyone's played those, but it's a top-down adventure game where you're trying to collect parts of your spaceship to get off Earth.
Randomly generated as well. Levels.
Randomly generated, yeah.
Levels, yeah.
So they basically like how roguelikes worked and wanted to make a game like that. So you're walking around these top-down levels, Toejam and Earl together, collecting parts of your spaceship, and then trying to get back to your planet. And that's why in this game there's Earthlings on your planet, because they've stowed away on your ship, and you're sending them back to Earth. One of the reasons this game is so adventure-heavy, more so than other platformers, is because the first game was such a big adventure game. They wanted to make a second game. They wanted to do it similar to the first one, but they actually bowed to publisher pressure to make a platformer. I found it pretty amusing that...
It wasn't... You're right. I got this in my trivia section, just sitting on my trivia. They didn't bow to them. Sega just said to them, we don't really think this is going to work. And they kind of buckled themselves and went, oh, okay, we'll change it to a platform. It wasn't like they were like being forced by Sega. They just said to them, Sega said, we don't really understand this. Because the original thing was going to be they had lost all their CDs and they're trying to hold a concert. And they had to go around collecting CDs. And Sega said, we don't really get this. This is a bit weird. But anyway, sorry, go on.
But I found it kind of amusing that funky platformers, or goofy platformers even, 2D platformers, were basically the military first-person shooter of the 90s.
Yeah, totally.
Because now these publishers are saying games without girls, no, games with girls don't sell, and games that don't have guns in them don't sell, and so all these people are making military shooters. And back then, games like this were what publishers were saying, this will sell better.
Yeah.
Because now you couldn't sell this to a publisher, unless they were, very indie-friendly, I guess. But so basically it was an adventure game to start with, the series, but they had to make it a platformer because they wanted to sell more copies or whatever, and they actually alienated a lot of their fan base by doing that. So I think that's why they put in a lot of these adventure aspects, because it was kind of in their DNA.
Yeah.
But then they should have stayed true and they should have just done a straightforward platformer, and instead of having the Earthlings hiding and you have to find them, it should have been like in any other platformer where they just
like straight enemies.
They're just straight enemy, and then you just got to catch them all and then you give them at the end, instead of having to hunt for them and then having to do all these little weird music challenges and all these weird bonus levels.
Well, then we'd be criticising it for being unoriginal.
We could, and they would have alienated the fans even more then.
But it would have been truer to the genre, and it wouldn't have been so mental. Because the reason Neil and I turned it off was because we were just so confused. We didn't know what we were meant to be doing.
We were scared.
Yeah.
We were sitting there going, I don't know what's going on.
I think the problem is
Funkotron was just too funky.
I think the problem is
completely funked our minds.
Too much funk.
I think the problem is essentially a hybrid between adventure and platforming, and that might hinder it in some cases, unless that's what you're looking for. Which the fans of the original game might have been, but they were trying to kind of carve a middle road between the two genres.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I like they made the effort, actually, because there's not a lot of adventure-style platformers. We did Kirby, and that's more adventurous.
Kind of brings on to my opinion of the game, which is basically that I didn't like it, didn't enjoy it. However, I do actually really admire the game for trying quite a lot of new things.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised playing it, that I was kind of like, straight away I started playing it, I tried to jump on enemies' heads and I was running around and I was like, oh, this is actually quite a lot different. This isn't a normal platformer. And so I kind of quite respect the fact of things like using the funky scan, searching in trees, having to check all the objects, going through hidden portals, putting money in like meters, and even like the swimming section I was quite impressed by how much like depth there was. So there's always like swimming around and picking things up. And I didn't enjoy any of it. Like I always
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't enjoy any of it.
A game is a sum of all its parts, I always say. But I kind of admire that on paper they must have been like, right, okay, there's like bouncy pads you can bounce up to, you've got to catch the earthlings, throw them in jars, and then you have to kind of like search trees, and if you find a tree, an earthling might jump out, and you could use these scanning things that could show you where the secrets are, so you can collect them all. And on paper it all sounds great. You'd be like, this sounds fantastic, I can't wait. But it just didn't really work for me very well in the game, and I couldn't really put my finger on exactly why. One of the biggest things for me I didn't really like is I generally didn't like the response time and the controls of the characters. Like when I was on the bouncy pads, I just couldn't work out how to get higher.
That timing
I was just all over it. And when you jumped, it was way too much low gravity, I guess, because you'd go flying, and I'm not like it was closer to me to an adventure game than a platformer.
Yeah,
because it wasn't about precision jumping or anything like that. But I still admire it. I think it's very funky. I think a child me playing that would have thought it was awesome, doing the whole boom boom clap and dancing, all these little funky things going on. The guys with the, I actually quite like the story of like the earthlings. I love the way the earthlings are either tourists throwing tomatoes.
Well, they'll run up and kick you in the leg.
I thought there was a little bit of a moral message there as well. You know, the earthlings turn up and they start ruining everything, causing people headaches.
Told by a lot of films, so it's not a new moral message.
That we are the bad guys.
Avatar.
Got me thinking. If I was a kid, that would have blown my mind.
Well, that's like Avatar and Dance with Wolves and Fern Gully,
Pocahontas,
Gladiator. I'm willing to admit that I'm
Willy. Sorry, go on. Go on. Sorry.
I'm willing to admit that most of my enjoyment of this game probably comes from the fact that I enjoyed it when I was young. I think we've got a higher tolerance for mediocre games when young because it's just colourful, platforming fun. If I played it now, maybe I wouldn't think it was as good as I do. Maybe I think it's more mediocre, but... So I think nostalgia's kind of blinding me to the fact that it's quite a middle-of-the-road platform.
I would love to see, and I'm pretty sure they do exist, and off the top of my head I can't think of any now, but I'd love to see a game nowadays that's as willing to go as funky and wild and colourful as this game did. Like, the only one I can think of recently would probably be Hotline Miami, went for this very good 80s kind of like... It's not
playing
funk,
that recently,
but very stylish kind of...
Is it good?
Quite cool.
It's really good, yeah. It's...
I've played about 10 minutes and I haven't yet got into it.
You played it with a mouse and keyboard?
Yeah, it works fine with that. It's a strange one because it's top down, but it's basically like it's almost a game where you have to learn the route through the level, like the best way to do it, because it's all about very fast reaction times.
I see.
So it's like Super Meat Boy, which is on this show.
Oh, that's cool.
Where you're basically learning what to do when, because the enemies basically kill you instantly if they see you.
So it's like rote memorization.
Yeah, so it's not about like how do I react to this situation now.
A game always wins big points for me if it's got a very unique style or quite stylish to it, and this game gets that as well. It's got a distinct style, and it doesn't even have to be a crazy style. Because I was about to say I started playing Dear Esther.
Oh yeah,
and that's got a very unique style in the way that it's so kind of, I don't know what's the word, like quiet, I guess.
Yeah, it's very
and even
tranquil.
that I can really respect. But yeah, I'd love to see a game more. I'd love to see a game as funky and colourful and almost, I guess, tongue in cheek. Quite crazy, quite kooky.
It commits to its artistic direction.
But I'd love to play the sequel that was on Xbox and the prequel, because I've not played either of them.
The prequel was better loved. I think the sequel was not very well received.
Yeah, it was on Xbox in like 2002, and there's still Toejam and Earl Productions website is still up, and it was weird. Even before you said you can do this game, I did know the characters. I don't particularly know why, but I had heard of them, and I did know them, and I think they were kind of one of the kind of jewels in the Mega Drive's character roster. If that makes sense. Like along with Sonic and Alex the Kid.
Sega apparently used them as mascots for the console.
Yeah. So it was quite cool, and but I sadly I didn't really like it. I was going through and I wasn't particularly enjoying it. I was getting a little bit frustrated. Searching trees got quite boring quite fast, but I did find that it was constantly little things we knew were happening, and I was like, oh, awesome. Like when I got to the dancing, I was like, oh, cool. And then when I got to the guy doing the drilling on the floor, that was quite funny. And then, but yeah, no, sadly, as a sum of all its parts, I didn't particularly enjoy it.
I think in terms of what it does, it's not a great platformer, it's not a great adventure game, because it tries to be both and doesn't do either very well, but it does have a very good direction in terms of its style, and it sticks to it. And I also like the little bits, like the character pieces, like the different humans, the especially the Oogie Boogies.
How do they go again?
Oogie Boogie 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 Boogie. And they reach out and try to grab you, and it's so funny. They're like tickling you.
I enjoyed the story though. I like that whole thing of Earthlings and stuff. I know it seems quite simple, but it did make me giggle. Even I thought it was quite funny.
I didn't know this before, and this makes more sense with the finding CDs storyline that they scrapped. It turns out that Toejam and Earl are meant to be rap stars on their planet.
Oh, are they?
And so that's why they're putting on a concert or whatever, because they're rap artists. So that's kind of something you don't really get from the game. But
Well, thank God the premise makes sense.
Do you think back in the day, kids would have found this quite fresh and quite hip?
well, this is when Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was.
At its height.
93.
I've heard it was
probably.
funky fresh. So.
Don't forget Bartman, doing the Bartman, all that stuff. You know,
Oh, I love Do the
it was
Barman.
very funky.
Yeah.
I had that album on vinyl. How old am I?
So I think this was very clearly targeted at a demographic.
Yeah, yeah, most things are.
A demographic that was trying to be cool.
What was the name of the cool kid out Saved by the Bell? Not
Zach.
Was it Zach?
Morris.
Zach.
Slater.
Slater.
Zach and Slater, or I can't remember
Slater was
what that called.
grotesquely muscular and had a weird perm mullet.
Let's be honest, it was aimed at Screech. Screech was the geek who played video games.
Yeah, but he wanted to be Slater.
He did. Oh, no, he wanted to be Zach.
Well,
think,
either of them, I think he would have gone
I
for.
was going to say one thing about this game, actually, it did make me laugh. Well, not laugh, but I kind of went, this makes sense. It makes sense that it was on the Mega Drive and not on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine this kind of game.
Yeah,
I don't
Nintendo
know,
wouldn't have
I
released
couldn't
something
imagine
like
this
that.
on the Nintendo. It was way
It's
too
funny
cool.
to imagine a
wasn't
game
cool.
like this not being released on a Nintendo platform, because nowadays they don't they don't care. They'll release anything.
Well, it was released on the Wii Virtual Console.
Yeah.
But it's lost its funk over the years. You know, it's no longer as funky as it once was.
Got a serious case of Funk Leak.
I tell you what I do miss I was in the game. The which games all games should have the sound test option from the menu.
Yeah, I dropped to that. Dropped a
Yeah.
beat in that before we started
That
playing.
only makes sense if there are like 5 songs in the entire game, though.
I imagine if I was a kid with this game and I really enjoyed it, which I probably would have actually liked it quite a lot when I was a kid, I could definitely imagine me in my bedroom leaving that playing, just leaving the music, and it'd be like me there jamming.
Do you know what I was just reminded
Playing
of?
Transport Tycoon.
Transport had a better soundtrack.
Music in Transport Tycoon is fantastic, but you know what that reminds me of, which is not really related, but great soundtrack, was Outrun.
Oh yeah, Aaron had an amazing.
And before you started the race, you could select it on a radio station, like a
something
radio.
shower.
Yeah.
I was about to say golden shower. Something shower, like raindrop showers or something. Was like my
Yeah, but it would
favourite
come
one.
up on a little radio display.
Yeah.
I love that little selection because it was like you're selecting it in a car.
Best soundtrack I've ever always heard. I remember I was blown away listening to it. Was Tony Hawk's. Tony Hawk's
Yeah,
1
that
and
was
2.
a good
I mean,
one.
I know
That's because it was all licensed
It was
tracks.
just rock songs, but
Yeah.
it was just like wow. I remember Wipeout was just I couldn't believe I was listening to like Prodigy playing a video game. It was
Well,
so
the
good.
EA, the songs that EA licenses for its games, because they're all like across a main label. It's called EA Music or something. They choose pretty good games. Like if you get the Criterion races like Burnout and the later Need for Speed games that Criterion made, you'll get songs on there. I discovered a lot of songs from that I really like just because they come up while you're playing.
Yeah.
And they're real songs, so you can go and find that artist.
Yeah,
and-
I remember playing Burnout Paradise and the Aquarium from Camille Saint. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Camille Saint-Saëns, the French romantic composer, was on it. That was cool.
Yeah, so I like licensed music, but yeah, it's not really up to the game developers to make it great. They just find great music and
Yeah.
pay for it.
The reviews of the game at the time, the only one I've got is GamePro USA, December 93. Gave it 5 out of 5. So, said it was amazing. But then as the 94, I got Electronic Game Monthly, gave it 7 out of 10, 70. And generally, IGN, funny enough, did a survey and they found that most of about 70% of the people they interviewed said they preferred the first game was the best.
Yeah.
But they said that there was like quite a niche group of fans who absolutely loved the second game and thought it was brilliant.
I think 'cause it's different
it was
enough.
Still kind of it was because they were saying it was so different from the first that people generally seem to love the fact that it tried so hard to be different. That's what they can't.
I think it's a shame that it was released into that context of the first game, because if it had been on its own, I think it would have been better received. But people were kind of expecting something after playing the first game they didn't get much of, and that hindered it.
And that is why Metal Gear Revengeance is terrible.
Well, no, because I don't really like Metal Gear Solid, but Metal Gear Revengeance I would come to fresh, so I'd probably enjoy it more than you would.
Wait, they called a game Revengeance?
Yes, they did.
They're
That's
Japanese.
awful
It
for the
stars,
title
It's a
alone.
recent one by
Platinum Games.
Platinum Games.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
It's not
brilliant.
brilliant.
I haven't played it myself.
It's
Yeah,
not
that's what I'm
brilliant.
saying. Metal Gear Solid
production values
fans,
are terrible.
Metal Gear Solid fans won't like it, but anyone who comes to it not from Metal Gear Solid, will
If
think
you've
it's
never
fantastic.
played Devil May Cry, but you kind of like the idea, and will never play Devil May Cry, then sure, maybe.
Bayonetta was better than Devil May Cry.
Bayonetta was misogynist crap, but whatever.
Who wants to hear some trivia for the game?
Yeah.
A commercial for the game was released at the time. It featured a wild homeboy talking G-Funk. Don't know what that means. Talking G-Funk slang about it. And it was so bad that I had to actually put like subtitles in because people couldn't understand what they were selling.
Just like
apparently.
Trainspotting.
I tried
Brilliant.
to find it. One of the artists on the game was called Michelle Harrell, Harrell. She was
Wait.
also artist on all of the LucasArts, well, most of the LucasArts Adventure games, including Full Throttle, Monkey Island 2, Fave Atlantis, Monkey Island Dig, But that's quite interesting.
There's a guy watching a TV advert, and after it's over, he's like, I don't know what that was about, but for some reason I want to buy a copy of Toejam and Earl Panic in Funkotron.
I wonder what G-Funk sounds like. I don't know, I can't imagine. The plot of the prototype of the game would have seen Toejam and Earl return to Earth to stage a rap concert, only to find they'd lost all their CDs. Which would form the basis of the game's treasure hunting. However, Sega confirmed they did not understand the game, and though the decision was still ultimately with Johnson and Vosanger, who were the main designers, the developers started work on a more generic side-scrolling platformer as a concept to which Sega had been more receptive.
Those suits, eh? The fat cats upstairs.
But the most interesting bit of trivia I have, and I was looking on Moby Games at the people who worked on it, and a name came up which was Evan Wells, who was a level designer on the game, and I was like, why do I know Evan Wells? And it's because he's a co-president of Naughty Dog.
Oh, really?
So, just come out, The Last of Us, the first game, Evan Wells, who's a co-president of Naughty Dog, just done Last of Us, which is incredible, by the way.
Wait, hold on, has it come out?
It comes out the 14th. So
it isn't it? Yeah, go on.
At the time of recording, 3 days' time.
Wait, you've played it? You've played it?
I played it. I watched the first 15-minute intro. Just that enough made me go, this
I thought it's already been released in America.
I think it might have just come out in America.
Or is that just review copies? Maybe
Probably review copies. But, I mean, we've all seen the reviews.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
But yeah, that was Evan Wells. This was his first game he ever worked on. And look where he's looked all this way.
In 20 years.
20 years. And he's obviously Naughty Dog, all the Uncharted games and Jack and Daxter.
Yeah, and Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, all of those. And I think that might be all the... there was a Toejam and Earl game for the Dreamcast. It was cancelled. But finally, after quite a few years, Toejam and Earl 3 Mission to Earth was released on Xbox 2002. The game was pretty badly reviewed as well. And since its release, this was just off Wikipedia, Toejam and Earl in Panic on Funkotron has developed a negative reputation as a selling out of a daring design. That was a very opinionated piece, I thought, for Wikipedia to write, but there you go. Generally, review scores on IMDb, the average was 5.9 out of 10.
Ouch.
With quite a large chunk of people rating it 10, and the rest getting quite low down the board, giving it averages. And there's no real patterns between man and female, it's worth mentioning. Generally, women are reviewing it a lot lower than men. And that was sadly in all my trivia about the game that I had. Anyone else want to say anything about before we go on to the retrograde part of the show? No? All done? All good here?
Yeah.
And see, you look like you're...
Oh, no.
Brilliant, okay. Alright, retrograde time. And see, you chose the game, how are we going to review it? What's the review score going to be?
Weapons? No, that's not true.
Axe.
Do it, Axe.
Everyone chooses axe. Weapons, axe.
Go on.
Okay, that's it. No, genres of music. It's an easy one. I think we can all think of a genre of music. But you can't choose funk.
I've got one.
You can't choose funk?
That's fine.
Okay. Lizanne, go.
Jazz.
This isn't jazz.
No, this is totally
This
jazz.
is not jazz.
It's scat jazz. It's all over the place. It doesn't know what it's doing.
Skibbity bop.
Yeah, it's trying to be coherent.
Massively
it's trying to be really
sophisticated.
cool. No, it's not
Subversive.
sophisticated.
Jazz is.
It's up its own arse.
It's not up its own arse.
It totally is.
It's not.
It totally is.
Man.
I really hate jazz.
Okay. Racist.
So, that's not racist. That's genreist. Anyway, so for me, this game is jazz, scat jazz, because that's epically poor. It's not coherent. There's too much going on for there to be any kind of decent focus. And it's not up its own arse like jazz is. But, well, I guess it is a little bit. But
In summary, screw jazz.
yeah, I hate you, jazz.
What were we talking about again? Oh, the game. I've got one.
Yeah.
If you go, classical music.
Yeah.
Because to me, this game is a classic, and also because, like classical music, I think this is a masterpiece and should be appreciated by everyone. Mainly for what it's attempting rather than its actual accomplishments.
Yeah.
Because when it really comes down to it, classical music doesn't really accomplish much.
No.
And just so the listeners understand, I'm saying all this because James is a classical music aficionado.
And like classical music is not catchy. Like no one will ever sung those things.
Yeah, like classical music, it's a bit obscure. People don't really know it when you say it.
Yeah, exactly.
What, you mean the plinky plink? You mean the plinky plink piano music?
Boom.
Yeah, so I'll say classical because, I appreciate it. A lot of people, don't really think about it, but it's good, I like it.
I'm going to say it's that guy, this isn't a genre, it's that guy who sits in the park playing the bongos. Because he's going booga 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 playing the bongos, and I'm just sitting there going.
Does he not go?
And I'm kind of like, this is visually entertaining for a few minutes, acoustically it's hitting my ears and I'm hearing something, but it's just not really working for me. And I think he's trying something, and he might make a few quid out of it, but it's not doing it for me. He's just banging a drum at the end of the day. He could have done something a bit fresh, but he's trying, and I appreciate that. But it's not floating my boat. So yeah, nice. Bongo music is this game to me.
Only on the street though.
Pretty zany, pretty
bongo.
Pretty zany, pretty crazy, a bit wild, but overall it's not a great thing. Okay. Go learn piano. James?
Oh, sorry, I tuned out after Anthony started talking about classical music. I'm going to go for mid-90s indie rock because it's bland and it inspires absolutely no desire for analysis.
Nice.
No, indie rock.
Oh, indie rock. Well, like Oasis and Blur and all that.
No, that's Britpop.
Well, Blur are actually pretty good. Oasis, yeah. The most popular Beatles cover band ever.
Yeah.
So people like...
Less Than Jake.
Don't you dare Less Than Jake.
Weezer.
Real Big Fish.
Oh, Weezer. Oh, okay, we're not giving this a different show now. This is a different episode. Okay, so that averages out at like a
funk out of 10.
A Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
A funky stale game. Yeah.
Like I said all along.
I'd say funky stale is a very good descriptor.
Good. I'm glad we all good. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can also visit our website at retrogradeShow.com to get a back catalogue from episodes. You can also find us on Twitter at RetrogradeShow. Don't forget to enter our competition where you win all those bundles of games.
Yes.
Woo!
If you tweet us in the next 2 weeks at Retrograde Show on Twitter, you'll be into the competition.
Whether you like it or not.
Even if you don't want to be.
Your name is in a hat.
So be
But
careful.
if we then announce you as a winner and send you the get in touch with you and you don't respond, then I guess we'll give it to someone else.
We'll give it 2 weeks and we'll just roll the prize over. It'll be a rollover.
Nice. Snowball it.
Yeah.
We'll just choose like a second person.
It's going to be like a year's time. We've got like 400 games to give away. It's like, someone win these games, will you please? Someone reply to us. And obviously, if you enjoyed this show, you can also head over to iTunes and write down a review for us. Every reviewer gets a free Retrograde badge.
How do they find us on iTunes?
Just go to iTunes, search for Retrograde.
In podcasts.
All one word. In podcasts. They'll all come up. There is another Retrograde podcast that does like funky psychedelic music, funnily enough. Don't review them. They're getting a lot of reviews that are like, it's an awesome video game podcast. We're going to be back.
Where's my badge?
This poor guy's going, what's going on? We'll be back in 2 weeks.
We have to make badges.
No, I probably got the name. all these people want badges. I don't know what to do.
Is this normal for a podcast? We keep getting badges demands. Terrible. They changed it to 1 star a week later. Terrible show. Didn't give me my badge when I asked for one.
This poor guy doesn't know what's going on. We'll be back in 2 weeks of a game that I've got this thing. Is it the Storming of Castle of Dr. Brain?
No, it's just called The Castle of Dr. Brain.
The Castle of Dr. Brain
Yeah.
on PC.
It's breaching the castle
Made
of Dr. Brain.
made by Sierra.
Storming the front gate of Dr.
No,
Brain.
just The Castle of Dr. Brain. There was a sequel, but we're doing the original Castle,
The Castle
of
of Dr. Brain
Yeah,
on PC.
because the sequel was The Island of Dr. Brain, but we're not playing
So
that. We're
many
just doing
people
The
are
Castle.
going, oh, I remember that game. Yeah, that was brilliant. I'm
Yeah,
playing
it's
that.
made by Sierra. It came on floppy disk. And this was my parents trying to educate me through video games because they knew how much I love video games. Worried I was wasting my time, so they bought me a lot of educational video games to teach me stuff, which worked because I'm very clever. And yeah,
For people out there who probably, like me, have never played this game, I'm sorry, it's going to be a majority of people who never played this game.
Oh, I know,
will
I know.
try and find a way online they can play it legally, and I'll tweet about it.
I think there's an open source version.
Perfect. I'll tweet that. I'll find it. So if people want to have a play of this game, they can play it before the next show. And I'm terrified because it's a puzzle game, right? Like
Some of them are puzzles, some of them are logic, some of them are words.
I think what Jack's asking is...
Some of them are physics,
am
some
I
of them
gonna
are
be able to get through
astronomy.
it?
Like, it is amazing.
Does
It
he
covers
need to know
everything.
what the word astronomy means?
Yes.
Okay.
You also, I just need to point this out, you will also need to find a copy of the planet symbols from the manual, because you do need that to crack a couple of safes. You need that to work out codes.
That's old school copy protection.
No, I think it's like in-game, not...
Can I
It's
also,
in-game.
can I
Like
also ask for my benefit that none of you cheat playing this game? Okay, I want to see how far you will get, so we can talk about actual puzzles.
Honestly, it's meant for 6 to 8 8-year-olds.
So exactly, no cheating, guys.
So really, if you just sat down with it, you will have it done in an hour.
I like that as soon as you mention a children's puzzle game, Jack's first inclination is to cheat. Like, that's the first
No,
thing.
but I know that you guys go, well, it really is, you know how to walk through. But I'm sitting there going,
you can
what's
do
7
it in an
times
hour.
4?
You can do it in an hour.
Oh.
Alright, okay. So there you go. Castle
yeah.
Dr. Brain.
Storming the castle gates
No,
of Dr. Brain.
no, just Castle of Dr. Brain.
One does not sin.
Storm the castle gates of Dr.
I'm looking
Brain.
forward to it. That should be good fun. And yes, I'll tweet how to
We'll
play
all
that
learn
game
a little
legally.
something too.
I'm going to come in, Nick. I'm going to be like a genius when I come in 2 weeks.
You are.
Yeah, guys. I know what's the first...
He'll know how to build an electric circuit.
I know the planets of the solar system now.
You're the target demographic.
I shoot for the stars. Okay, that's a goodbye from me, Jack Marshall. Goodbye from Anthony Hobday.
Goodbye.
Goodbye from Zan Fisher.
Bye.
And a goodbye from James McFadden.
Listen, if you like classical music, tweet us on Twitter because that was out of order. Goodbye.